So I just wanted to do a quick video just explaining the pencils that I've used to create this Black Labrador. So I've got a few of the colours in here, and I'm just going to go through the different ones and how I've used them and how I've layered them to create the effects that I have on this piece. So I've used a range of different colours. Predominantly I've used polychromos, Faber-Castell polychromos. So a lot of dark indigo, which is a really, really nice dark blue. Now, what I didn't want to happen was I didn't want to end up with a blue Labrador. I wanted a black Labrador, but I still wanted some of those lovely colours underneath. So I used a lot of the dark indigo underneath black, or even over the top of black. I obviously used my black, so I used quite a lot of that. And I used quite a lot of cold grey. So I've got a cold grey 2, a cold grey 4, and a cold grey 1. So quite a lot of those kind of layered over the top of the blacks. Now I've also used quite a lot of the warm greys in there as well. So I've got a warm grey 4. If you can see on this piece, you'll find some quite cool colours up here. Cool colours in the sort of like in the bridge of the nose area here, but then you'll also see some quite warm colours kind of coming up where the light is hitting the hair, and warm colours coming down into here as well. So mixing the warm colours in with the cool colours gives a really, really nice effect. So then I've also used the Pablos, the Caran d'Ache Pablos. One of the pencils that I've used an awful lot in this piece is the Pablo Light Grey. This is a really, really good pencil. This pencil is particularly great for coming over the top of blacks to create these highlighty areas. On the pastel mat, this is white pastel mat board, on the pastel mat the light will come over the dark really, really easily. So I can just sort of like get really nice little highlights and stuff in place very easily over the top of the black. So when I come to do this area down here, I get all of my black in first, get it really, really nice and rich and dark, and then I come in and I put the light over the top to give me the fur details over the top, so I don't have to kind of work around the light areas. I can put them in at the end, which is really, really useful for when you're creating a piece like this. So the light grey is a really, really good pencil from the Pablo range. And then I've also used the ash grey, which is more of a much warmer, almost yellowy grey, and that has been really, really nice in some of these warmer areas. So you've got the cooler grey, where you've got those sort of bluey colours coming through, and then you can use something like the ash grey where it's a little bit warmer and you can get those warmer sort of lighter areas in. And then I've also used the silver grey as well. So really, really good for sort of like these bits around the muzzle area. Another fantastic pencil for creating black dogs is the Luminance, the Caran d'Ache Luminance Light Cobalt Blue. This one again is fantastic for getting these sort of like lovely, very, very blue highlights in over the top of those blacks and the dark indigos, so kind of mixing and matching really with the Pablos and getting those highlighty bits in. So that's another really, really good pencil. So then there were some unexpected colours that I used. So I used an awful lot of the Granite Rose from the Pablo range. So you can't really see where I've used the pink, but in areas like down here, this is where I've used it to sort of smooth out those black areas and just give a hint of a warm highlight. So this pink has been a really, really fantastic pencil to use in different areas within the dog's fur. The Caput Morton Violet, used as a glaze over the top of, so a glaze over the top of the grey in this area here has just made this area just a little less blue. When you put the light grey, which is quite a cool grey, when you put that in over the top of the black and the blues, it can end up looking a little bit too blue. So just putting a very light glaze of something like the Caput Morton Violet over the top is just going to knock that blue down. When I talk about doing a glaze, it means very, very light. Well, for me, it means very, very light pressure. So all you're doing is putting a very, very light layer of pigment over the top of what's already there. I've also used the burnt sienna in the Faber-Castell Polychromos range. So this I've put into the cheek area here as it sort of connects to the muzzle area. This is sort of like on the photo it was sort of quite a warmish area, and some of that brown was coming through in, you know, in between all of the black areas. So that was quite a nice colour to put into there. And I've also put into the top of the head up here just to create a little bit of contrast and a bit of warmth up there. I've also used, this is Royal Blue Pablo. Again, I've used this in areas just to sort of bring out a bit of the sort of purpley bluey colours in there. Just to, again, just to add a little bit of something, a little bit of lift. And then the light yellow ochre, I've added up into the top of the head here, into the some of these really dark shadows, just to give them a little bit of warmth and a bit of sort of where the light's kind of bouncing off them. So these colours work really, really well with the blacks and the blues, just to kind of lift everything and make it warmer in places and a little bit more interesting, I guess. So to get the really black blacks, I have used my Derwent Drawing Ivory Black. So this is a really soft black. It's really black, and you know, it gives a really, really, really dense black over the top of anything else that you're putting it on. So this is a really, really good one for getting those darks. I've also used a couple of whites. So I've used the Derwent Drawing Chinese White. So I've used this for sort of some of those lighter areas in here. Again, it's a very soft pencil, so you're not going to get sort of like a really bright white over the top of the layers, but it's going to kind of lighten things, and it will also smooth and soften as well. And then I've used the Caran d'Ache Museum Aquarelle, and I've used these for these sort of like the whiskery bits. I mean, they are subtle whiskery bits, but they're in there. And then for these lighter areas around the muzzle, I've used the Museum Aquarelle. I've used it dry, and I've also used it a little bit damp as well. And then the red in the collar, I've used the Derwent Lightfast Scarlet. This is a fantastic colour, and it is like drawing with lipstick. Sadly, there wasn't a huge amount of red in here. There's only a tiny little bit. But if you're doing something, you know, that demands quite a lot of red, this is a really, really good colour. Yeah, so that's it really. Those are the pencils that I've used in this piece. You know, they're good colours to use for black dogs, layered over the top. In places I'd probably say I've got upwards about 15 layers in the top bit up here. Down here, I'd probably say there's maybe about 7 layers of colour down here, just because of the black. Get the black really black, and then you can just put the colour over the top. Up here it was a bit more difficult or more challenging, because you've just got to kind of get those lovely fine subtle tones in there. So it just took a little bit of working up really. The eyes, I've used Caput Mortem, Burnt Sienna, Dark Indigo, and then I used the Polychromos Warm Grey 2, just to give those lovely sort of glassy areas. Nose, again, I've used very similar colours. Dark Sepia is another really, really good colour in the Polychromos range. You know, it's quite a dark grey, which you can use in the place of the black if you want. And then I've used the Ivory Black in these nostril areas to make them really, really dark. Yeah, so I hope that's useful. And, you know, if you're drawing a black dog, just remember that there are loads of all sorts of other colours in there as well. But, you know, try not to use just predominantly one colour. You know, you want your dog to look black.